In March 2026, NASA revealed an ambitious new plan for the future of American space exploration. On the surface, this is a blueprint for colonizing the moon, which is incredible, but the even more important revelation is that NASA itself has fundamentally changed into something that the world has not seen in decades. And the reason for this change goes deeper than just new leadership. There is a great power competition that will play out on the moon in the decade to come. The old NASA was set to lose that contest, but the new NASA is playing to win, and this is how they're going to do it. When Administrator Jared Isaacman took the stage at NASA headquarters in Washington, D.C., there was one simple word projected on the screen behind him: ignition. That word announces the beginning of a transformative journey for the American space program. The status quo has been rejected and replaced with a new direction to set high expectations and then meet them. Isaacman acknowledges that for decades, NASA has been spread too thin. They've tried to make everyone happy and in the process have accomplished very little. The result has been billions of taxpayer dollars wasted and years of progress lost. He also made it clear why that change must begin right now, because there is more to lose than just time and money. There is a great power competition with the Chinese to stake the first permanent claim on the moon. And this is nothing like the space race the world saw before in the 1960s.
But this time, the goal is not flags and footprints. This time, the goal is to stay. America will never again give up the moon.
Now, we have heard these words before from NASA administrators and politicians over the past decades, but words are hollow without actions, and historic actions require intelligent plans, which is the one thing that NASA has lacked since the very beginning of the Artemis moon program. Better late than never. A detailed, achievable, step-by-step blueprint for the Artemis moon base has finally arrived. And it all begins with a complete overhaul of the moon landing schedule as we have come to know it. For the first big change, there will be no boots on the moon for Artemis 3. This has been reformatted into a dress rehearsal mission that will play out in low Earth orbit. Now, this probably sounds counterintuitive to everything we just said, but it's not. Because the old plan had a jump from Artemis 2, which is a crewed test flight of the Orion spacecraft, to landing on the moon using an entirely separate and unproven HLS vehicle. This was an unachievable goal, and the risk factor was so high that it never would have gotten off the ground. So the launch date became a can that was kicked further and further down the road with every year that passed. Under the new direction, Artemis 3 will instead feature the crewed Orion spacecraft and the lander vehicle meeting up in low Earth orbit for a rendezvous and docking procedure. The crew will then transfer into the lander for a test of the life support, communications, and propulsion systems. If possible, they'll also test the new lunar EVA spacesuits inside the lander airlock for the first time. Doing this in low Earth orbit means that problems can be solved and lives can be saved if anything doesn't work as expected. We already know about the Orion spacecraft, but this new moon lander is still a bit of a question mark. For many years now, this was assumed to be a lunar variant of the SpaceX Starship, but now, that is not so certain. Isaacman has confirmed that Blue Origin is back in the race alongside SpaceX with their Blue Moon lander, and one or both of these vehicles will be tested on Artemis 3. It all depends on who can get the job done in time for launch. This is a big aspect to the new direction at NASA. Even SpaceX can be put on notice. Just because you won a contract in 2022 does not mean you are guaranteed a moon landing. The only thing that matters now is execution, and the first company to achieve their goal will be the one who sends American astronauts back to the moon. The deadline for Artemis 3 has been moved up to next year, 2027, and then once the new lunar lander is confirmed, the winner will be expected to keep moving at incredible speed. They now have only a few months to test their vehicle in an uncrewed moon landing and then turn around a completed design for Artemis 4. This mission is now scheduled for early 2028, and this is when America returns to the moon with a landing in the South Pole region. But like Isaacman said, this is not about flags and footprints. So to make their point clear to the world, NASA will land people on the moon again in 2028 with Artemis 5 scheduled before the end of that year. Now, that sounds overly ambitious, but this is how NASA used to operate in their golden era. The turnaround time between the first moon landing on Apollo 11 and the next landing on Apollo 12 was just 120 days. And this is more than just a flex. This will set the new tempo for American moon landings, with a crew arriving on the surface once every 6 months from here on out. This is also where NASA's commitment shifts to establishing their permanent outpost on the moon. And that begins with prioritizing surface operation over everything else. So the Lunar Gateway space station that was originally planned to orbit the moon, that's no longer on the table. But it doesn't mean that time and resources spent building the Gateway have been wasted either. All of the hardware that has already been developed for the station is being repurposed into the design of the first moon base. The construction of that base will happen over 7 years, and NASA has set themselves a budget of $20 billion to get this done. It all plays out in 3 phases, and this starts right now. Phase 1 covers 2026 to 2028, and the primary goal over this time is to secure reliable access to the surface of the moon with a high launch cadence. That means sending 25 missions in the first 3 years, with 21 of those being lunar landings. 2 of those will be crewed missions, but the majority of this phase is about experimenting with new technologies for the future moon base operations. This includes sending nuclear power to the moon. There is a sunlight problem up there that needs to be solved, and nuclear energy is the only way to do it. The day and night cycle of the moon is a lot longer than